Good Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this January 24th, 2021, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Mr. Rayo, we actually have some things to talk about on the Joe and Joe Weather
Sure
Show
thing.
today.
Yeah, I said, as I've been saying for a long time, I thought that this week would be a very relatively exciting week, and it looks like that's going to be the story. Tuesday, not so exciting. I mean, it's snow, but how much snow? Not a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah,
It'll vanish.
Tuesday is to me a big duh. It really is. Well, for folks that are in Maryland and Delaware and southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, it's Monday night into Tuesday morning when because this is kind of in some ways this is kind of complicated. In other ways it's dreadfully simple in terms of figuring out what's going to happen. And then, of course, we have this second system that really does look like it's going to explode into a major storm, a major ocean storm. But it's because of the block and the way things are set up here along the East Coast. How far north does it get? And that's the critical question.
Well, the old saying, as you know, the trend is your friend, and so far the trend, if you're a snow lover, the trend has been your friend because it has been a slow push northward over the recent last few days, but it has been coming a little closer with each passing run, Joe. And the new GFS is coming out now, and I have not yet had a chance to see whether or not we've gone far enough out to Thursday to see whether or not that push is now going to, make progress into parts of the tri-state area. But I've said all along, I was far more impressed with the Thursday system as opposed to the Tuesday system. And you're right, this storm, when it finally gets its act together, is going to be a real powerhouse. But unfortunately, for all of you who love the potential for snow or maybe even blizzard-like conditions, it looks like a lot of that is going to be expended out over the fishes as opposed to out over the coastal areas and land areas
Well,
of the eastern U.S.
on the other hand, I do think there could be certainly some accumulating snow across, say, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Delmarva Peninsula, depending on how this plays out. So we're going to take a look at that. The new GFS is coming out, and we also have the new NAM. But before we do that, let's just take care of Omni True Value Hardware, the Joe and Joe Weather Show, sponsored by Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's winter weather source and rock salt source. They service the entire tri-state area with everything you need to get through winter storms, and we'll see how much you'll need this week. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, just north of the Southern State Parkway, 631-756-1125. They have the best prices in town, and also, and most importantly, they are a local business, and no better time than now to support your local businesses. The website is omnitruevalue.com. So why don't we get started here with, first off, this morning, which was very cold. Temperatures down, most lows were in the teens. Some of the warmer urban centers were closer to 20, but the wind was kind of busy all night. So I noticed that the wind chills were really down there. So I guess this is the coldest. This was the coldest nighttime morning and or early morning of the winter season so far.
I'm not exactly sure how this played out for Central Park. I know the lowest temperature that the park has seen was back in mid-December, where it got down to 20. I can tell you that here, I actually was a little disappointed. I My low this morning, just after 7 a.m., was 17, and I got to tell you, I've seen a lot colder than that. To the north, it was much colder. Our old friend Andy Gregorio, who lives up in the Glen Falls area, Joe, had an interesting day yesterday. His weather station battery crapped out on him as the temperature dipped down to like 9.5 degrees. And he also, in trying to change the battery, he also noticed that I think his anemometer was iced up. And so what he had to do, he went back in the house, got a 75-foot long extension cord, climbed the ladder, and used his hair dryer to heat up and unfreeze the anemometer reading. All of this, while he's trying to get his weather station back. And some of the coldest weather that we have seen indeed so far this season. It's as the late Rosanna Dana would say, it's always something.
It's always something, yes. And temperatures today during the daytime not getting out of the low and mid 30s. So I guess today might qualify as one of those days of ineffective sunshine, which is one of my um, stock phrases that I use. So
Yes.
I'm going to bring up the Weather Service snowfall forecast maps, and this only takes us through Wednesday morning. So this pretty much will cover the first event. And the problem with this, in terms of looking at the scope of what they have in terms of numbers, is that this has really kind of evolved into a two-phase event because during tomorrow, you're going to have the warm advection snow that is going to run out ahead of this, and that is going to probably impact south central, southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, back over into Delaware, Maryland, and northern Virginia. So out of this, you could wind up, I think, no, there might be a quick burst uh, with that, in my view. But the thing is, that area will only make it to that zone and then basically fall apart because the secondary low is developing, and that is going to be taking all of that moisture out to the northeast. Then on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you have the dying primary. That's probably going to affect areas a little bit further north. So I'm thinking maybe north of Route 70, Route 78 or 76 going to 78. But in Pennsylvania, generally let's call it Route 78. So north of Route 78 and north of Route 78 in New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, Western Connecticut, and into Long Island. Now, Joe, in PA, back in the Poconos and points west and central PA around State College, Altoona, Harrisburg, those places could wind up with maybe a 2 to 4 inch snowfall or a little bit more. But I'm thinking for everybody else, it's going to be one of these deals where maybe somebody gets a couple of inches and then somebody else winds up with just a coating, and maybe somebody else winds up with just flurries and doesn't get much of anything. I'm just not impressed with this at all.
And let's go back to what we were talking about on Friday, how my eyes were rolling around that some weather TV weathercasters on Thursday were showing European snow totals for this upcoming Tuesday, suggesting 4, 5, 6 inches. And I'm wondering how they feel now because I agree with you fully, Joe. 2 shots of precipitation. Shot number one may bring, a couple of 3, maybe even 4 inches to portions of north central Pennsylvania. That dies out. We really see none of that here in the immediate tri-state area. And then the second shot comes in, and from what I'm seeing, I'm thinking that maybe north of 287, north and west of 287, there might be an inch or two, maybe, but south of 287 for New York City and Long Island, maybe just scattered flurries. I don't really see all that much in
Yeah,
terms of any
it
kind of
could be.
snow
I just
accumulation.
Yeah, I just in cases like this, there's always a certain amount of variability that the models don't pick up on. So who knows where the exact a band of snow forms? Maybe it forms where you suggest. Maybe it sneaks a little further south at some point. But there will be a lot of variability. So it's almost impossible to just kind of lay down a blanket forecast. You're going to probably wind up seeing a bunch of different, wide variations going from place to place. And that could include, by the way, little or nothing. Meanwhile, where it is playing out now, because actually the initial approach of this, when you're watching it approach today and you're looking at it in the maps into tomorrow morning, you're thinking, whoa, this isn't too shabby a system. It's kind of got a fair amount of moisture. That is going to be played out today in northern Kansas, in southeast Nebraska, into southern Iowa. Des Moines is forecast in the central part of the state, forecast to get a foot. Looking at up to a foot in Lincoln, Nebraska. So there is a substantial amount of snow that's being played out. Chicago's forecast to get 8 out of this. So they may do well. They haven't really done very much this whole winter. And up around the Great Lakes in Michigan, Detroit forecast to get 4. Grand Rapids 4. Your mounts actually lower as you go further north. Usually it's the other way around. They also lower as you go south. Although the northern half of Ohio will probably get into some snow here, as well as northern Indiana and much of northern and central Illinois. But it's this sort of east-west arc of precip that we're seeing, and winter storm warnings are up for those areas where I just showed you where they're going to get half a foot or more. Northern Kansas, southeast Nebraska, southern Iowa, northern Missouri. Also, some winter storm watches have actually been posted for northeastern West Virginia and the western part of Maryland, and also for a couple of counties into southwest Pennsylvania. Now, there's also, we don't want to neglect the Southwest because, Joe, this is where the system that's going to be coming in for Thursday is now moving into, and there's a lot of winter storm warnings up for central Arizona, northwest Arizona, southern Nevada. Winter weather advisories covering much of the state of Nevada, up and down California and the Sierra Nevadas. And also up into parts of northwestern California and up coastal Oregon. So the West seeing some action here too that is going to impact the weather in the East when that next system comes around.
It's a powerhouse, that second system. That's no question about it. I did get just a few moments ago, Joe, a glimpse of the GFS, and
don't tell
for
me.
those of you snow lovers,
don't tell me.
For you snow lovers, you're just like rolling around, like saying, like, please, maybe another 100 miles north. Come on, push. But
well, we'll take a look at that soon.
It'll be interesting.
All right, let's set the table with what the WPC folks are doing. First off, on the surface map, this is back to Friday. I didn't even update it. Let me update this surface map here for today, and it should freshen up there in a moment. Or then again, maybe not. Okay, here we go. So this was the map at 7 a.m. this morning. The core of the cold air overhead. The gradient is still a little bit, actually rather tight over New England and points east because we still have what seems to be endless low pressure east of Newfoundland. We have a deep low there. There's another, it backs to what's left of an old low in east of New Brunswick, in the waters in between New Brunswick and Newfoundland, north of Nova Scotia. And then, of course, we've got this nice high that is building down. And now we're looking at the low that is in southern Kansas. That is the first weather system that is coming into play. WPC, in their latest forecast for 7-day precip, and they've been kind of going back and forth on this, Joe, with respect to the precip over us. How far north is that 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of liquid going to be? Because I honestly don't believe there's a whole lot of that for the first half. But for the second half, looking at, they have us in 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. So again, you want to split the difference and say that 1/2 of it's with the first system, 1/2 with the second. But you head down to southern New Jersey, down into Delaware, northern Virginia, and particularly in the state of Virginia, further south of Washington, D.C., they're generating about 1.5 inches of liquid here, and most of that is with the second system, and that trails back into Kentucky, Indiana, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and southeast Missouri. So there is potential for something to happen here in the mid-Atlantic states with this developing low. And then, of course, look at the West. I mean, they're getting clobbered with rain up and down the entire coast of several to many inches over the next week, and that'll be snow. A lot of snow is going to be falling in the interior West over the next week or so. Very busy out there with that active pattern. And I just had, there was one other thing I wanted to point out with respect to the snow forecast. We don't want to leave out, for some areas, there is going to be maybe a little bit of icing, and a little bit of an icing issue. And so we want to just point out that for southern New Jersey, southeast, parts of south central Pennsylvania, south of Route 78, down into Maryland, northeast Virginia, and into western Maryland, southwest PA, you may get this burst of snow, and then it'll probably go over to sleet and then freezing rain. And there are a few areas, a few pockets there where they have those winter storm watches up, that they're looking at a quarter of an inch or more of ice accretion. Everywhere else, it's going to be probably about a tenth of an inch or less. And there are ice accretion issues going on today across Ohio, Indiana, central Illinois, on the southern edge of that snow shield. So I just want to point out for folks that are watching from Maryland, from northern Maryland especially, and on up into southeast and southern Pennsylvania, that you get this little burst of snow tomorrow night, and then it might go over to some sleet or freezing rain for a while before the precip just kind of tapers down. So just bear that in mind. Now, WPC probability of at least 2 inches, Mr. Rayo. Not impressive. I'm not impressed.
No, that it really does not look like a dynamic system. But then again, when you think about the fact that, let's say right here in the immediate tri-state area, the last big snow, the last significant snow was the one that we had back in mid-December, over a month ago. So now, it's time to make a big deal out of the next snow, be it small or big. And this certainly does not look like, again, any kind of significant snowfall. By the way, I'm happy, at least for our immediate area, that it does not look like we're going to have to deal with any ice or sleet issues, which is really the worst thing that you could possibly experience during a winter weather pattern. But I do agree, looking at the WPC's hand-drawn probability of ice, they do have in western Maryland and south central Pennsylvania 10 to 40% probability of a quarter inch of
Do you
ice
have that on? Do you
accretion.
have that on your screen?
Yes, I do.
All right. So
And in fact, if you
yeah. Go
want,
ahead. Screen share.
let me screen that. Let me share that screen here.
Share the
And
screen. Share the screen. It will really
now you
make
should
you green. Hang on. I got to do one more
you
switch. There we go. All right, let me just. I'll make it even a little bigger on my end. I'll just widen it out so everybody can see. So go ahead.
right. So this is the probability of at least a quarter of an inch of ice accretion. It's valid for 12Z tomorrow morning, Monday, to 12Z or 7 a.m. Tuesday morning. So during that 24-hour time frame, you can see they have a stripe. The blue is 10%. So this stripe runs from northern Missouri through north central Illinois, Indiana, and into western sections of Ohio. And there's a little blip there. I don't know how they. I don't know. It's like the other night when we had that little blip over northeastern Pennsylvania. I
How
don't
do
know
they
how they
know
come up with.
that?
I mean, how do they come up with that?
I have no idea. Either
And
that,
yeah,
or somebody just kind of accidentally just hit the pen there and didn't want to bother to start the map from scratch, so just left it.
exactly, exactly.
Or there's
And
a
then we
tiny
have the
or there's a tiny little mountain there.
yeah, and then we have a 10% over southwestern Pennsylvania into western Maryland, northern Virginia, parts of eastern West Virginia, and the green, and you can see a teeny little bit of green there over in north central Illinois, and also into parts of Pennsylvania and Maryland. That's a 40% chance. So I guess wherever the green is, that's where you really have a definitive threat of possibly a tenth to a quarter of an inch of ice accretion from the 24 hours starting tomorrow into early on Tuesday morning. There's nothing for Sunday through Monday or Tuesday through Wednesday. So that'll be the time frame to watch for ice, will be from tomorrow morning to Tuesday morning in this zone right here. And unfortunately, again, here in the tri-state area, we needn't worry about any of that. It'll just be snow, whatever snow we can get our hands on.
All right. And by the way, Joe Rayo is monitoring the chat board. If you have any questions or comments, please, by all means, let us know, because we'll, if we can, we'll certainly address them on the air and try to answer your questions. So that's WPC's forecast for today. I'm sorry, for the next 72 hours. So on the map that I've got on the screen now is the probability of at least 2 inches, and the max area is across southern New York, from Binghamton west, So if Binghamton winds up being the jackpot zone again, don't be surprised. They have kind of nudged it. The low end probability has been nudged further south today, so they kind of pushed it south over Long Island. They actually kept much of Long Island and even northern New Jersey, much of northern New Jersey out of that, even in the low probability, but they seem to have pushed that a little bit further to the south. And also on the southern end, down into Pennsylvania, northern Maryland, low probability of at least two, but that doesn't mean you can't wind up with a coating to an inch or so. And that's really what I think will happen when you get that initial burst. Now, on their long range, they actually, interestingly enough, for Thursday into Friday, Joe, I was kind of a little surprised with this, but they actually have a 50% chance, up to 50% chance of at least a quarter of an inch of liquid equivalent snow or sleet. So let's say 2 to 3 inches. So they have a 50% chance of about 2 to 3 inches from eastern Virginia, uh, in the right near Chesapeake Bay there, to northeast across the Delmarva Peninsula, Delaware, and into southern New Jersey. It actually also has the 10 to 30%. This is what surprised me. They actually have the 10 to 30% up to just north of Poughkeepsie, along Route 84 in Connecticut, and then turning northeastward from there. I don't know. I kind of thought that was a little bit aggressive, but maybe they know something that we don't.
Maybe. In fact, uh, I'm looking right now, Joe. I know you haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to take a look at it. Le plumes.
Oh, les
I'm seeing what they're
plumes. We can
calling
certainly
for.
do the plumes. By the way, I was following them yesterday and last night, and they actually were kind of inching up a little bit. The last one I looked at was, I think, the 3Z, so the one that came out just after at 10 o'clock last night. So those were the last ones that I took a look at. I'm sorry, yeah, the 10 p.m. ones. Those were the last ones I saw. So I haven't
Right,
looked at any
right.
since. All right, so I'm gonna.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the 9Z right now. I'm just checking out, for example, um, total snow for White Plains. And White Plains, they actually give um, what's tomorrow? The 25th, right? The
Right.
26th. And actually, by the time we get to zero Z on the 28th, for White Plains, they have 2.46 inches of snow.
All right,
And
but
I'm
how?
not sure whether or not they're talking about the Thursday system or whether or not they're talking about the Tuesday system, because it's a slow rise from 6Z Tuesday morning to
Well,
the
why don't you do it this way? Put your cursor.
to the
Go.
hourly.
Yeah, go to 12Z Wednesday and put your cursor over the black line and see what number pops up. Then we can subtract out the first and the second.
Well, what I'm doing here right now is I'm looking at the 3 hourly snowfall, which
Oh, okay.
peaks. So this is whatever's coming. They're implying that that number is going to be with the first system, which is the one that's coming our way for late tomorrow night or Tuesday,
Right.
and not for the Thursday system. So
All
yeah,
right.
so they're talking about maybe 2 inches. I don't know if that's I think personally I think that's a little bit on the excessive side, but you never know.
Yeah, that's
We'll
kind
see.
of in line with what they were doing yesterday. Maybe it was actually a little bit lower than they were showing yesterday for White Plains. But let's. The first thing is actually, again, you look at this, and I'm running the map of the GFS now, and you look at the radar presentation into tomorrow afternoon. We have got solid precip from North Carolina and Virginia all the way west to the Mississippi River, and you see, of course, where that blossoming area of snow is. And you look at this and you think, boy, that actually looks pretty impressive. But look a little closer, and what you're going to find is look on the upper right, you still have northwest winds and a tight pressure gradient in eastern New England because you still have a low sitting between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. It basically doesn't move. So effectively, you have this block. A strong high is building down from Canada across the northern plains and into the western lakes. So this system really has two choices. It can either just sit there or it's going to try to move somewhere, and the path of least resistance is going to be mainly to the east. And that's what winds up happening is that, well, look, watch the precip area. It gradually weakens. A secondary low forms off the North Carolina coast. It's a little hard to see, but it's right here. It forms way out. It's very weak. It takes what little of that southern moisture out with it. So you're left with this arc of really nothing all that impressive with the dying primary, which, by the way, Joe, is so far west. The primary is in northwestern Missouri, for God's sake. And then it races eastward to just kind of redevelop later Tuesday into Tuesday night. So that's the surge of precip you're going to look at for areas, the southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey. It's whatever you get with this burst, which was a little colder and a little more impressive with the NAM, by the way. And you see it here for Tuesday morning. And then for areas further north, it's more like later in the day, Tuesday night into Wednesday. Then gradually that falls apart. And now here comes the next weather system. This is going to be the one that blows up. And I'm at 0Z Thursday, Joe. I haven't seen anything. I don't know why they have, by the way, they've got this renegade precip over Long Island and Connecticut Wednesday night. I don't know where if you look at this, by the way, I don't know if that's the secondary. Yeah, that's this. Look at that. There's like so the dying primary, Joe, forms a secondary that's out way out to the east on
like a
Wednesday
tail of a
afternoon.
comet.
Yeah, you see that? It's weird. And then here comes the powerhouse off the North Carolina coast. And you know what, Joe? I'm looking at this. There are a couple of problems here with this, and one is the fact that unlike some prior runs where the thing explodes right as it's on the coast, it does look like the deepening is happening, pretty much after it pulls out, and that is going to lessen that right off the bat. If that's true, is going to lessen any impact even in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey. So that's something to think
Right.
about here. Um, yeah, the other thing is, I mean, in terms of the arc of the northern edge of the precip, it gets into southern New Jersey as some rain, and then it's gone. So I just think the blocking is just way too strong. That's been the problem for how long now? We've had the blocking's been too strong. Everything is suppressed, and nothing's really changed here. The only difference is you've got a powerhouse system that's coming out that has more support, and it's still going to wind up playing out well to the south and east of us, I think.
Too much. It last year, not enough blocking, and the AO was bottled up the vortex over the polar regions. And this year, the AO is quite a different story. The vortex split. We've got a lot of blocking, and the final outcome is all of you snow lovers out there, you still ain't getting what you want.
Well, yeah, and the lesson here is if you want to arbitrarily call for think that any one of these setups, be it blocking or the Arctic oscillation or the Pacific North America index, and the North Atlantic oscillation, of course. If you think those are all the answers, and let's also add the Madden-Julian oscillation, another one of these overused, um, you know, long-range technical patterns. I'm not saying that it doesn't have any validity. It does, but at the end of the day, where is the ridge? Where is the trough? Where is the block? That's what matters, okay? And you could have all these teleconnections and all these long range things screaming at you that, oh, what a wonderful pattern it is. Um, it doesn't mean crap if the trough and the ridge, if the troughs and ridges aren't set up in the right place. And in this case, they're not. They just aren't.
That second system on Thursday, I think of like, that old TV show that they used to have on Sunday afternoons with Kurt Gowdy, the American Sportsman, where you have a couple of guys in a canoe or in a small boat fishing, and there's the one big fish, and there's a fight and a struggle, and the darn thing just gets off the hook and scurries away. And for the snow lovers, Thursday system basically is that one big fish. You look at it, you say, my God, look how great that looks. But what happens? The darn thing just gets off the hook,
Yep.
thanks to the block, just slides underneath. And it's like,
It's a
on The Price
59
is Right.
low.
Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah, mwah. It's a 59 low.
boom.
I pulled up the Atlantic view, so you can see it, and it slides out. I'm just letting these frames roll. So you see the first system here. By the way, everything on this map, it doesn't show rain or snow. It just shows precip. So don't I don't want you to don't think that it's not snow. It is. It just shows as liquid precip. Anyhow, look at what's going on in southeastern Canada, Newfoundland down to Greenland, with low pressure that's just sort of endlessly rotating around and around. There is a low there, Joe. There's a surface low that is moving across the Atlantic now that is going to turn northward and northwestward, move west across southern Greenland, and go and eventually merge into the thing that's coming off the coast for the middle of next week. I mean, this is just a totally hostile. We talked about how sometimes, last year there was an absolute complete lack of traffic out in the Atlantic. So as a result, you couldn't get systems to climb up the East Coast. Now you've got the problem on the other extreme where you have traffic, but you have these big dominant players, lows down in the 950s in terms of pressure that are just basically dominating the entire flow in the Atlantic. There's no room. There's just simply no room. That's what it boils down to.
Right. No, it's like that again. That's that other analogy I used about the subway, where you're waiting for your train. You're a big burly guy, 6'8", 6'10", 300+ pounds. The train pulls in, the doors open, and the train is literally packed. And there's absolutely no way that you could try to get in, but there's no way that you're going to be able to get in. And you just let the doors close. I'll wait for another chance, another possibility. And indeed, that's basically what the story for Wednesday, Thursday, folks. The train pulls into the station. There's the big burly storm. It says, I have no room to get into this. I'll wait for the next one. And who knows when the next chance is going to be, because Joe, it looks like after we get past the Thursday system, overall, the pattern is going to change so that it's going to start warming up some. It looks like we're going to actually have
Well,
some mild temperatures to deal with as we go into early February.
it may for a short interval, and I just want to touch on that for a moment. So I have the upper air out in the Atlantic. I draw a big circle around that whole area of lower pressures, and as you watch the system approach, the short wave that is the storm is right there. There's also another upper low that suddenly has appeared north of Lake Superior, and of course, in between all of that is the blocking high that's in northeastern Canada. So your shortwave winds up getting pushed out underneath. You can see why there's no room here. One upper low near James Bay, the other upper low that's south of Greenland actually stretches back westward toward Newfoundland and toward New Brunswick, creating northwest flow there. This thing can't lift up. It can't. There's no room. And then that upper low north of Superior drops down overhead Friday night into Saturday during the day on Friday. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a snow shower or snow squall with that. And then that moves out. And I'm just kind of looking, what is this troughing on Monday that develops here? Hang on a second. Let's go back. I want to go back to the other map. We'll go to the U.S. map now. Sorry, I just got to fix this map here, Joe. I'm in a little bit of a problem.
Technology, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get everything centered right, and I forget sometimes because I'm switching 5,000 different things. So here we go. So let me just go back. Let's follow it on the surface on the U.S. map at least and get a feel for this. As the circle of death just continues to spin and on it goes. All right, there's your low. Can't lift up. Moves out to the east. Cold and dry, cold and dry. Yeah, then you get this ridge along, little ridge along the east coast, a low that goes up into southern Illinois, and then just basically opens up um, with maybe a long front, a long warm front with another low that develops off the New Jersey coast, snow in New England, and that goes out. I'm just kind of getting a feel for this. Yeah, I mean, it's
Actually,
trying.
the
It's not really crazy warm, but it's trying to do. It's trying to suddenly do something where it's developing a bigger storm out in the middle of the country, so that we would probably warm up if that winds up verifying. I don't know if that's right, Joe. I don't know if the signature overall. Uh, on the teleconnections overnight was to go back to that blocky pattern again. We actually go briefly positive on the NAO, and then it goes negative after maybe the 2nd or 3rd of February. So that, this is maybe just a blip of whatever. If we do get a warm up ahead of some weather system in the next 10 days or so, yeah, that could happen, but I don't know that it's anything that's going to last.
well, they being the Climate Prediction Center put us right back in the zone of above normal temperatures on the especially on the 8 to 14 day prog. They're just saying, well, flat out, it's going to turn warm again or mild again,
Right.
and you just don't see that upper level pattern pulling in that very cold air from northern and central Canada into our area.
No,
There
we
have been
still don't
shots,
have
but
we don't have an effective cross polar flow. We just don't. That's been a
yeah,
problem all winter long, and even with the AL, we still don't have it. I just pulled up the 228 hour, the hemispheric look. I mean, there's really no polar connection here, none. We're getting, I guess we could call it dirty, dirty cold air from eastern Canada, because even there the air is not all that cold. There,
and that system for Thursday, as it moves out away from us, it looks like there's some kind of an upper trough that is a couple of days behind it that kind of pivots around across the northeast. You would have thought that maybe that might give some snow or flurry activity, and that's like nothing. It just
right.
just like a pendulum. It just like spins on out, and that's it, and goodbye. And then you have to wait for another system that seemingly is going to try to come across the Great Lakes and maybe reform south of us in time for Groundhog Day, February 2nd.
Right. By the way, if you on the North America view, if you look up in northern Canada there, that big area of purple, that is the blocking high, and you can see what happens with it. It gradually weakens, but it just doesn't weaken soon enough to impact the weather that's going on in the east. And I noticed the long range models over the last couple of days after day 10 bring back the upper high up there. Look, I guess it hasn't really done snow lovers any good uh, to have blocking to begin with. So I don't know that's necessarily a positive. And by the way, just real quick, I did do, I don't know if you did it yet. I did, Joe. I did draw a forecast map, an early call, and I'm putting it up right now for the first event, for the first low, and you can see it here. Um, I know it's kind of bizarre the way I drew it. It sort of looks like a hexagon with not enough sides, but uh, or a stop sign with not enough sides. But uh, this is what I did.
It almost looks like the keystone they had on the Heinz bottle for Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's where I have
Seven.
the max area of 4, and then I have that area of 2. My confidence on this, Joe, is so low. Okay, I mean it's really low. I don't. Whatever winds up happening out of this, if it winds up to be even less than this, it wouldn't shock me in the least. If some areas where I have snow could wind up getting nothing out of this. Also, it's some areas might actually see snow from both the first, that warm advection push, and then they may see it from the dying primary. So this is a total. It's a total mishmash over the course of 2 days. So I honestly, when I was putting this together, I had no, you know, most of the time when I'm doing a snowfall forecast map, I have a little bit of confidence in it. I mean, at least at the start when I do an early call. Sometimes I have a moderate amount of confidence in it, but this one I have low confidence because of just how weak all the players are.
I'm looking also, Joe, at the on my screen at the GFS 10 millibar temperature, and it shows that things really warming up in the days to come over Siberia and northern Asia, and
Oh, there's another stratospheric
the
warming event coming up
yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
happen. So another split in the polar, a multiple split in the polar vortex, and we're still pretty much in the same place we've been since December.
Yeah, just there really doesn't, maybe I don't know, maybe around the early part of February, we might start seeing a flow coming. Well, it doesn't really look all that great. It's gotten to the point where we're groping for straws, folks, or
Yeah,
groping for
naturally.
snow. Yeah.
Well, Leon, just want to mention Leon Probitsky has hit Super Chat 3 times today. And thank you, Leon, but don't do it anymore, okay? Just to let you know,
Well,
because
thank you very much,
it came through
Leon.
here
Leon is
3 times, so I hope that's what you intended to do. And we
now
also,
the first time he hit super chats, he has this laughing emoji. It looks like
yes, and then he did
a
another
green
one,
bear just going ha ha ha
right?
ha
He's
ha.
got the screaming hen. And
Yeah.
also want to mention Steve Lapointe hitting super chat today, as well as Doug Wetzel hitting super chat today. So the three of you, thank you very much. Most Joe and I most appreciate it. Oh, by the way, for those of you on my subscription my subscription platform on Patreon. We'll be doing a weather zoom tonight at 9 o'clock. So just look for the links to that. I'll be posting them up this evening. So 9 o'clock Eastern time on my weather platform, patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Um, yeah, I mean that pretty much. I don't have much else to add here. This is it's very frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating from the standpoint is that you and I like to talk about stuff. So in this particular instance, we've got stuff to talk about, but for snow lovers, this is not going to.
I I just want to say
It's not.
on the
It's not
chat
going to
board.
get much fruit out of this.
See now, Samata Mott says JR may have a lot of egg on his face before too long. We're not even into February yet. We haven't even gotten close to the end of February, and already I'm already being lined up for egg on my face. And again,
meteorology, weather is probably one of the few places where you can to be taken out and accused of being wrong before you even have your a chance for your forecast to verify.
right, right.
I mean,
So we'll
really,
see. I should
just
also point
stop.
out that our friend from we did this before the beginning of the season, Jim Witt, and I have his 2019 calendar here.
Right.
I did not get a 2021, but it doesn't really matter because in the back of all of his calendars, he has the dates to watch out for, Joe. Mother Nature's coming attractions. And I do have to give a tip of the hat to Jim because important dates to watch in the future. And for 2021, he has January 28th through the 30th. And when is that storm expected to miss us? What is that date? That's the 27th?
Yeah.
What is that?
The
The
Wednesday's the
next Thursday?
27th. The 27th is the 28th.
27th to 28th. And he has here on his calendar January 28th to 30th, important dates to watch in the future. So, all things considered, he doesn't miss by all that much
No,
by
that's actually
highlighting that
I
particular
would
time
consider that a
frame.
very good call. If you have a 959 low, sitting out to our east that comes off, that starts off weaker and then intensifies rapidly off the Virginia coast. I would consider that a hit personally.
Now, you say to yourself, all right, so when is the next chance that he says we may get something, possibly, whatever? It's February 19th through the 21st. So it may be about three or four more weeks before we get another potential big fish to possibly try
No,
to
and then
reel
maybe,
in.
and then maybe something might appear that we can't see at the moment. While you're bringing out those dates, let me point out another date because Smadamat says in 1 billion years, a billion years from today, on this date, a billion years from now, the sun will be 10% brighter and the Earth's temperature will be 100 degrees higher. So I think
Well,
we
I'm
need.
glad I'm not going
Should we put up a watch for that? I mean,
to.
should should we have a graphic? Should we draw a map? Um,
I will tell you, speaking of the sun, 97 years ago today, and it was a Saturday, 97 years ago, January 24th, 1925, New York City was treated to, no, 96 years ago, right? 96? And that 25, and today is 20,
yeah, so
21.
96 years
96
ago.
years ago. On this day in 1925, there was a total eclipse of the sun over New York City. The temperature at the time when the sun vanished completely was um, was like 4 degrees above zero. It was very cold, frigidly cold. A few days earlier, we had like a 10-inch snowstorm. So if you wanted to see this event, you had to really bundle up because it was a bitterly frigid, cold day out there. And interestingly, Joe, now this is really weird. Um, the time when the sun would go completely dark, and some of the tabloid papers, they like the New York Daily News, it was only around for 2 years or 3 years back in 1925. They said sun will go dark. Is New York's day of darkness. Do you want to know what time totality hit New York on this day in 1925?
What time?
9/11. Can you
Really?
believe that? That was weird. You know, New York's day of darkness, 9/11. Uh, and that was back
That,
in
that's
1925.
that's yeah. Those are always like do 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 do
Do,
moments when
do, do,
you
do,
yeah.
do, 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 do.
Um.
Oh, well.
Anyhow, just checking to see the chairman Scott Briller. I was not 100% sure what we were doing with respect to. Um, he did point out to me this morning that if Washington, Baltimore wind up getting something sizable out of this, and if you look at the GFS, today you might want to say probably not. The last time that area had a general 12 to 24-inch snowstorm was January 23rd, 2016. A lot of folks on social media in the weather groups were posting about that from 5 years ago. So it would be 5 years since they've had um, a big one there. Reagan Airport got 11, and Baltimore 25 out of that. So that was pretty interesting. And we do have a Briller Jeopardy. Let's see. Did I do this one here already? Okay. Um, let's see. Variety hour. I'm just trying to see what he left here for. This was left for Friday, but we didn't do it. Do we do one Friday, Joe? I don't remember.
I think we did. Yeah,
Um,
I think we did do a Friday.
okay, so no, okay, these are different. All right, so this rare weather event only happened twice back in the years in Central Park winters. That's the first question. All right,
This event
I
only
have
has
to.
happened twice.
Right, so I'll give you the questions because the answers are on my weather platform on Patreon. So I have to go to that to get the answers. So anyhow, all right, so let's see. So this weather event only happened twice back to back. Let me read this again. I'm sorry, folks. I'm kind of losing my mind today. This rare weather event only happened twice in back to back years in Central Park winters.
I would have to say that back to back years, we had, I was going to say sub-zero temperatures. Does it have anything to do with cold or,
Well,
well, you don't have the answers.
That's what comes to my mind. I don't know what the answers are either, so that's what comes to my mind. So I'd just say back to back below 0 days. That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that it happened in back-to-back years. By the way, quick, just real quick, we are just a handful of likes short. So if you haven't, if you like the show and you haven't hit the like button, please do, because it makes Joe and I happy. And we thank you for those of you who have hit the like button today. So let's see if we can get it over 100. Um, who are the Golden Snowball Award is given to upstate New York City that receives the most snow each winter. What are the 5 cities that compete for this?
Would have to be Syracuse, Buffalo, Rochester. I'm going to say Watertown and one other town
I would
that
throw Albany in there.
Albany. Yeah, Albany too. I think would qualify.
All
So
right.
those are the five. I think
And which city won last year?
it always seems that
I
Syracuse is
thought
winning.
Syracuse won it last year, and of course they've got
Yeah.
they've had they're in a snow drought this year. Which city has won it the most times? I'll say
Oh, wait a minute.
Syracuse.
It could also be Binghamton.
Well, that's
Christianopedia
true.
mentions Binghamton might be one of the five.
And who is leading so far this winter? It has to be Binghamton.
It has to be Binghamton. No, I mean most others have like 10 to 15, and Binghamton has what, 40 to 45. No, it's no.
Yeah, no, it has to
And
be.
with that big lead, if they can just go now for the rest of the winter with a normal snowfall, they'll probably they would probably win the
The
Golden
Golden
Snow
Snow,
Shovel.
you're right. The Fickle Finger of Fate Award. Remember?
Izzy D says Lakewood, New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. That's if you only if you count it in flakes.
Right.
So let's see what the answers are. So I have them here. Um, So, question one, the winters of 30 and 31, 31, 32, and 96, 97, and 97, 98 were the only back to back winters in which the park had 12 inches of snow or less. The Golden Snow Award cities are Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, Binghamton, Albany. Rochester won it. Question three was who? Oh, where was it? I'm sorry. Hang on a second. So question three was which city won last year, and that is um, Rochester. Question four is a bit of a surprise. Which city had no? I'm sorry. Question four is what city has won it the most times, and that is Syracuse. Question five, the city that's leading right now is Binghamton. So yeah, we did very good. I think.
There you go. There you go. By the way, we all now know that Larry King, broadcast legend Larry King, passed away yesterday morning. And for those who did not see my Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather,
I
I
did.
told I did an interesting little story. The I never had a chance to speak with or meet Larry King, which is something I regret because I was a big fan of Larry King, especially back in the early days of my career, Joe, when I used to work overnights in the late '70s and early '80s. I had the midnight to 8 shift or the 2 to 11 shift, and so what really got me, or kept me going, was listening to the Larry King syndicated radio show on the Mutual Network. And during those shows, he would interview famous celebrities. Then he would open up the lines and you could call in if you wanted to talk to him. Some nights he told stories. And one story he told was the Carvel story, where he says that he was a good friend in his childhood days when he was like 17, 18 years old with pitching legend Sandy Koufax and a few other people on his block. And Sandy Koufax told all the kids on the block that in New Haven, Connecticut, there was a Carvel, and we all remember Carvel, when they were in their heyday, that there was a Carvel in New Haven that sold 3 scoops of ice cream for 15 cents, which nobody on the block believed. And so they bet Sandy that he was telling a falsehood. And so what do they have to do? They all jumped in one of their friend's car and they drove from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, all the way up to New Haven to the Carvel to find out if indeed this one Carvel sold 3 scoops for 15 cents. This was 1951, for God's sake. And even then, that was a bargain. And I used to tell this story of the Carvel to friends of mine. And sometimes I would embellish it a little bit, make it longer. And I must have told the story more than a few times. One of my best friends, in fact, he was the best man at my wedding. When I started telling the story, he said, "Oh no,
Not the
Rayo's telling the
Carvel
ice cream
story.
story again. Oh no, no, no." Until finally one day he said to me, friend's name was Sam Storch. He said, "Rayo, I'm going to get you for this. I'm going to get you somehow or other for telling this blankety blank story over and over and over again." Now we fast forward to the day before I got married, August 31st, 1984. I was working for a private weather forecasting service in Flushing, Queens, which, by the way, Joe used to visit frequently because it was the only place that Joe could get his hands on maps and teletype information back in the day when he wasn't at the National Weather Service interning.
Right. And
And
once I
and
once I got my driver's license, at least I it cost me $1.50, 75 cents each way on the bridge,
right,
which in those
right.
days
But
was a lot of money for a 19-year-old.
that's a pretty hefty price. But I'm doing my work. I'm typing. It's the day before my wedding, and into the weather office comes a guy dressed like a gorilla, and he has a banana around his neck, and he's singing, "Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas for Joe Rayo." The guy, the gorilla, comes in, lifts me up bodily, puts me over his shoulder. I'm saying, "Who the hell is this? What the heck?" Now, my wife, who worked with me, knew this was coming. And I was wondering, why isn't she doing anything like calling the police? She's just sitting there watching this guy. He bodily takes me out of the office, out onto the street, and all of a sudden, I see a car. The doors open up in the car, and he flings me into the back of the car. The doors close, and the car zooms up Union Street. And I say, "What the hell's going on? What the hell?" And it was Sam, my best friend, my best man, behind the wheel of the car. He's taking me on a trip over the Whitestone Bridge, over to the Hutchinson River Parkway, turns onto I-95. I'm saying, "What the blankety blank are you doing? I have work to do. This is my last day before I get married. What are you doing? What are you doing?" And also in the car were my ushers. I had my best man driving, the ushers for my wedding. I'm there throwing a hissy fit. We drove all the way. I said, "Where are you taking me? Where are we going?" I see a blue sign, Connecticut, Massachusetts. We're now on 95. I said, "Where are we going?" We drive up to New Haven, Connecticut. Remember the
Yep.
story? New Haven, and Larry and his friends, they went up
Yep.
there to see if you
You
get
went to
three
that
scoops of ice
Carvel.
cream. Drive up to the Carvel in New Haven, Connecticut. And on the front door of this Carvel is this sign.
you, that's
If
that's
your
actually
name is if
that's
your name
actually
is Joe
quite
Rayo,
cool.
if your name is Joe Rayo, and you could prove it, you can get 3 scoops of ice cream for
For
15
15
cents.
cents.
And that was how I had my final day before I got married, getting 3 scoops of ice cream for 15 cents in New Haven, Connecticut.
Amazing.
Thank you. And to
Thank
Larry,
you,
wherever
Larry
you are,
King.
Larry King, thank you for the great story, and thank you for the bottom of the market price for 3 scoops of ice cream.
All right. All right, let's time to say goodbye here. So the Joe and Joe Weather Show, as always, brought to you by our wonderful sponsors, Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt provider and a provider of everything you need with regards to getting through winter storms. Should we ever get one again? 631-756-1125 with the best prices in town. They are a local business. And by the way, when the winter starts to wind down and you start thinking about spring, Omni True Value Hardware is a great place to go to get your mulch and everything else that you need, your topsoil, whatever it is you need to get your yard in tip-top shape for the upcoming spring and summer season, which inevitably they always do. Winter does eventually end, and we do eventually go back to get to spring and then to summer. So because the clock just keeps rolling along.
And who do you like in
And
tonight's games, Joe?
who's playing tonight? Tampa Bay and who? I have no idea.
Well,
Who's
we have the Bills, New
right?
York, Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, I'll go with Governor Cuomo and say, "Let's go Bills,
All
go
right. I'll
Bills."
root for the Bills, and then I guess the Packers are on the other side. What's the other game?
Packers against the Buccaneers, and the Packers,
I'll root for Green Bay. Um,
Packers,
I have friends in
you have to
Wisconsin, so I'll root for Green Bay.
go for Green Bay, I think,
Yep.
in this case. But we'll see and whoever wins today or tonight goes to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And yes, this will not be a year where you can go to your big Super Bowl party, gouge
No, you
yourself with
right,
food,
and then you get to
or
watch
play the pool.
the tacky entertainment in between. They'll have that somehow.
Exactly.
All right. Have a great Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here as we go over whatever it is we're going to have happen over the next 3 or 4 days. So be sure to come back to tune in 7:30 tomorrow night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for the 102 likes. Thank you.
Nighty night.
90